Listen closely. Do you hear that? That's the sound of wings that no longer beat. The faint rustle of beauty pinned to cork boards, labeled and cataloged, forever frozen in the moment before decay. I once knew a man who collected butterflies. Not living ones. No, that would have been too honest. He preferred them dead, their iridescent wings spread wide in eternal, artificial flight. "They're more beautiful this way," he'd whisper, running his fingers along the glass cases. "Perfect, unchanging, mine." This is what we do to desire. Freud understood something that makes modern romantics squirm like insects under examination. The moment we capture what we crave, we begin the delicate process of killing it. Not with malice, but with the suffocating kindness of possession. We take the wild, unpredictable dance of attraction and pin it to the wall of commitment, watching its colors fade under the fluorescent lights of domesticity. Have you ever noticed how the most passionate love letters are written in pursuit, not possession? How the poetry dies somewhere between "I must have you" and "I have you"? It's like watching a sunset through a dirty window. Technically the same phenomenon, but drained of all its terrible beauty. The velvet curtains in my study smell of old perfume and disappointment. Sometimes late at night, I imagine I can hear the conversations of all the lovers who thought they were different. "Our love will never fade," they promised, even as they felt the first pins sliding through their wings. There's a story, you won't find it in any psychology textbook, about a woman who loved a shapeshifter. Every night, he would become something new, a wolf, a storm, a whisper in the dark. She loved him desperately, violently, until one day she begged him to choose a single form. "So I can know you," she said, "so I can hold you." He became a man, ordinary, predictable, safe. Within a month, she was gone. Modern research confirms what folklore has always known. A study from the Institute of Behavioral Dynamics found that romantic satisfaction drops by 67% within the first 2 years of cohabitation. But here's what they didn't publish. The couples who reported the highest long-term satisfaction were those who maintained separate bedrooms, separate friend groups, separate secrets. Those who refused to merge completely, those who kept their wings folded, hidden, ready. Kierkegaard wrote about the aesthetic, the ethical, and the religious stages of existence. But he missed one, the taxidermic stage, where we take everything beautiful and wild and mount it on the wall of our expectations. You see, female desire, as Freud glimpsed through his cocaine-hazed revelations, operates on a principle of perpetual absence. It feeds on the gap, the space between reaching and grasping. It's not that women want what they can't have. It's that having transforms the object of desire into something else entirely. Like quantum particles that change when observed, passion collapses into something smaller, tamer, more manageable the moment it's possessed. The men who understand this become ghosts in their own relationships. Present, but not possessed. Available, but not assumed. They master the art of being perpetually half-turned toward the door. And their lovers thank them for it with a desperation that looks like devotion, but tastes like fear. I keep a dead butterfly in a frame above my desk. Not because I find it beautiful, I don't. I keep it as a reminder of what happens when we love something to death. Its wings are still spread in a parody of flight, caught forever in a moment of fake freedom. Here's a grotesque little secret. The most successful seducers aren't the ones who promise forever. They're the ones who make you feel like every moment might be the last. They understand that desire is a death drive dressed in lingerie, always reaching for its own annihilation. The summer air is thick tonight, humid with unspoken truths. Somewhere, a woman is falling in love with a man's potential for departure. Somewhere else, a man is realizing that the surest way to kill his lover's desire is to promise he'll never leave. And you're sitting there, perhaps thinking of someone who once made your pulse race. Are they beside you now, transformed into furniture? Or do they exist in that perfect, painful space of memory where desire never dies because it never quite lived? Tell me, and be honest, though honesty stings like antiseptic on an open wound. When did you first feel your own wings being pinned? Was it gradual, like falling asleep? Or did you feel each pin as it went in, choosing security over flight? The museum is always accepting new specimens. Why satisfaction is desire's suicide note. Shh. Lean in closer. I want to tell you about the time I watched a man die of happiness. It wasn't dramatic. No blood, no violence. Just a slow fade, like watching ink wash out of a love letter left in the rain. He'd gotten everything he wanted. The woman who once made him pace his apartment at 3 a.m., writing poetry on napkins and cigarette packs. She was his now. Legally, spiritually, domestically. I met him at a dinner party 6 months after their wedding. He sat there, wine glass perpetually full, but never reaching his lips, while she discussed their weekend plans for antiquing. His eyes had that particular emptiness you see in zoo animals, well-fed, safe, and utterly destroyed. She used to be unpredictable, he told me later, smoking on the balcony with the dedication of someone with nothing left to lose. She'd show up at my door at midnight with bruised knees from dancing and wild stories about strangers. Now she schedules our sex for Tuesday nights after her yoga class. Schopenhauer would have laughed. That bitter, knowing laugh of a man who understood that life is a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. We think we're chasing pleasure, but we're really just trying to escape suffering. And when we finally do, when we finally catch what we're chasing, we discover that satisfaction is just another word for emptiness with a full stomach. There's something obscene about contentment, isn't there? Like a corpse with perfect makeup. All the features are there, arranged correctly. But the animating force has fled. Watch closely the next time someone tells you they're perfectly happy. Notice how their mouth moves, but their eyes remain still, like doll's eyes, reflecting light but generating none. Female desire operates on a principle so dark that even Freud only danced around its edges. It requires resistance to exist. Not the theatrical resistance of playing hard to get, that's child's play. I mean the existential resistance of being genuinely uncertain whether you want to be caught. The moment a woman knows she has you completely, something in her begins to starve. A recent study buried in the Journal of Behavioral Psychology found that women in relationships reported highest arousal when their partners displayed what researchers carefully termed adaptive unavailability, moments of genuine disinterest, distraction, or emotional absence. The researchers were so disturbed by their findings, they recommended further study to correct what they assumed must be an error. It wasn't an error. I keep a jar of honey on my desk that's crystallized solid. Sometimes I stare at it. This substance that was once liquid gold now turned to sugar stone. This is what happens to desire when it gets what it wants. It crystallizes, hardens, becomes something else entirely. You want to know the real reason Odysseus tied himself to the mast to hear the sirens? It wasn't to resist their call. It was to preserve it. To keep that sweet torture of wanting forever just out of reach. The sailors who plugged their ears with wax, they lived longer but died emptier, never knowing the exquisite agony of desire that can't be satisfied. Here's a game that only the truly damned play. Count how many couples you know who were more alive in their longing than in their having. That co-worker who spent 2 years pining for someone's attention, electric with possibility, now gray and automatic 3 years into the relationship. That friend who used to write songs about unrequited love, now spending Saturday nights comparing lawn fertilizers. The candle on my desk drips wax like tears of the fulfilled. Nietzsche wrote about the eternal recurrence, the idea that we're doomed to repeat every moment infinitely. But he missed the true horror. We're doomed to achieve what we desire over and over, watching it turn to ash in our mouths each time. I once counseled a woman who confessed she would start arguments just to feel something. When he fights back, she said, when he threatens to leave, that's when I want him most. The minute he apologizes and promises to do better, I feel like I'm suffocating. She wasn't broken. She was terrifyingly honest about how desire actually works. The Buddhists speak of hungry ghosts, beings with enormous appetites but tiny mouths, forever eating but never full. They got it backwards. The real curse isn't having a hunger you can't satisfy. It's having a hunger that dies the moment you feed it. Modern dating apps have turned us all into Tantalus, reaching for fruit that vanishes the moment we grasp it. Swipe, match, meet, fade. The cycle accelerates until we're not even sure what we're hungry for anymore. Only that the emptiness grows with each successful connection. So here you sit, perhaps next to someone who once made your hands shake. Do they still? Or have they become wallpaper in the room of your life? Necessary, functional, but invisible. When was the last time you felt that electric uncertainty? That delicious doubt about whether they'd call, whether they'd stay? And here's the question that should keep you awake tonight, staring at the ceiling while your satisfied life breathes evenly beside you. What if the thing you're most afraid of losing is the very thing that's killing your desire to keep it? The hunger doesn't want to be fed. It wants to hunt. Where we perform love until we forget we're acting. A little poem, whispered by madmen. She loved him most. When he forgot her name, he loved her best when she was someone else. Have you ever watched a spider wrap its prey? There's a terrible tenderness to it. Each strand of silk a caress that binds tighter. The fly doesn't struggle after a while. It accepts the embrace, maybe even finds comfort in it. This is what we call a relationship. I discovered something recently in my grandmother's attic. A collection of love letters between two people I never knew existed. The early ones blazed with passion. I would burn cities for you. You are my beautiful destruction. I exist only in the moments between your heartbeats. The final letters, dated 3 years later, discussed grocery lists and whose turn it was to call the plumber. Between those 2 points lay 47 letters. I read them all, watching two people slowly agree to murder each other with kindness. Artaud wrote about the theater of cruelty, the idea that true art should assault the audience, wake them from their comfortable stupor. But he never realized we're all already performing in such a theater. Every "I love you" that means "don't leave." Every kiss that tastes like compromise. Every orgasm faked not out of kindness, but out of exhaustion with the whole charade. Here's what Freud understood, but couldn't quite articulate through his Victorian vocabulary. We don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with the version of ourselves they allow us to perform. And when the performance becomes routine, when we know our lines so well we can sleepwalk through them, the theater empties and we're left performing for ghosts. The air tonight smells of jasmine and deception. I had a patient once, brilliant woman, doctorate in physics, who kept a journal of every time she'd pretended. not just the obvious things like faking pleasure or interest. The microscopic betrayals, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, saying I missed you when she'd enjoyed the solitude, choosing restaurants she hated because it was easier than explaining her actual desires. It started small, she told me, her voice flat as old champagne. Just little adjustments, like tuning an instrument. But each lie required another to support it, and another, until I was living in a house of cards shaped like a person he could love. The journal was 847 pages long. Modern neuroscience has discovered something delicious. Our brains literally cannot tell the difference between a performed emotion and a genuine one if we commit to the performance fully enough. Method actors' brains show the same patterns as people experiencing real trauma or joy. We become what we pretend to be, which means every relationship is slowly turning us into strangers to ourselves. There's an Indonesian myth about a demon who grants wishes. The catch? Each wish replaces a piece of your soul with a perfect replica. By the time you have everything you want, you're no longer you, just a collection of fulfilled desires walking around in your skin. Sound familiar? Watch couples who've been together for years. Notice how they've developed a private language of gestures, looks, coded phrases. We call this intimacy. But look closer. It's actually a script they've refined through 10,000 small negotiations. She knows that when he says, "I'm fine," he means, "I'm angry, but too tired to fight." He knows that when she touches his shoulder while passing, she's apologizing for something she'll never admit. They're not communicating. They're performing a play they've rehearsed so many times, they've forgotten it's fiction. Kierkegaard distinguished between the aesthetic life, living for pleasure, and the ethical life, living by principles. But he missed the theatrical life, where we live as an endless performance of who we think we should be, until the mask fuses to our face and we suffocate behind our own frozen smile. Last week, I sat in a cafe and played a game, counting authentic moments. A couple argued nearby, or rather, performed an argument. You could see the beats, the practiced rhythms. She knew exactly how long to wait before sighing. He had perfected the art of looking wounded. They'd had this fight before, would have it again. It wasn't about resolution. It was about playing their parts. 0 authentic moments in 45 minutes. The cruelest part? We know we're acting. Deep down in that place we visit only at 3 a.m. when the performance exhausts us, we know. But the alternative, dropping the mask, speaking our actual desires, admitting we're bored or lost, or fantasizing about the barista, feels like stepping off a cliff. So we keep performing. She pretends his stories are still interesting. He pretends her touch still electrifies. They both pretend this is what they wanted, what they chose, what they'd choose again. A moth beats against my window, desperate to reach the candle that will kill it. Here's your assignment, you beautiful fraud. Tomorrow count your own performances. Every "I love you" that's really "I'm supposed to love you." Every smile that's actually a mask. Every time you choose the comfortable lie over the uncomfortable truth. But here's the real question. The one that should make your skin crawl. If you stopped performing tomorrow, would anyone recognize who's left? Or have you, like my patient with her 847-page journal, already replaced so much of yourself that the authentic you is just a ghost haunting a relationship that never really existed? The show must go on, they say. But what if the theater's been empty all along? How gods become furniture through the miracle of familiarity. There's a dangerous secret hidden in the wine-dark corners of ancient Greek. A word that makes translators nervous. Apotheos. Not the apotheosis, you know, the elevation to godhood. No, this is its shadow twin, the process by which gods become mortal, then less than mortal. Furniture, background noise, that thing you step over on your way to somewhere else. Watch carefully now, because I'm about to show you how it works. She enters your life like a storm breaking a decade of drought. Everything about her seems impossible. The way she laughs like she's sharing a secret with the universe. How her fingers trace patterns in the air when she thinks. That tendency to show up at your door with bruises from adventures you'll never fully understand. You catalog each gesture like a scholar discovering a new language. You stay awake reconstructing conversations, searching for hidden meanings in every pause. 6 months later, you know exactly how she takes her coffee. This is where the alchemy begins. That grotesque transformation from mystery to mundane. Not through malice or neglect, but through the terrible efficiency of human pattern recognition. Our brains, evolved to ensure survival, cannot tolerate prolonged mystery. We must decode, categorize, file away. It's why ancient peoples invented ever more distant gods as the old ones became too familiar, too human, too disappointing. The clock in my study hasn't worked in years. I keep it for the silence it measures. I once met a man who claimed he'd found the solution. Never live together, he said, eyes bright with the fever of false wisdom. Keep separate apartments. Meet like lovers, not roommates. He showed me pictures of his girlfriend of 5 years. Carefully curated moments of passion and play. What he didn't show me were the text messages I later saw on his phone. Negotiations about who would host dinner. Passive-aggressive comments about canceled plans. The slow transformation of spontaneity into another form of schedule. Distance doesn't preserve mystery. It just stretches the timeline of disappointment. Here's what modern researchers won't tell you about their attachment studies. Secure attachment, that holy grail of relationship psychology, is just another word for successful apotheos. You've completed the transformation. The dangerous other has become safe furniture. Congratulations. You've killed God and replaced them with a reliable appliance. Freud wrote about the Madonna whore complex, but he missed the more universal truth. We all suffer from a God furniture complex. We cannot desire what we understand, and we cannot stop ourselves from trying to understand what we desire. There's a Japanese concept, mono no aware, the pathos of things, the gentle sadness of transience. But there's another concept, whispered in sake houses at 3 a.m., that has no name. The specific sorrow of watching someone you once worshipped become ordinary. Not through any fault of theirs. They remain exactly who they always were. The fault lies in your eyes, now equipped with the terrible gift of complete recognition. A cigarette burns forgotten in my ashtray, its smoke spelling words I don't want to read. The neurochemistry is almost insultingly simple. Dopamine, that goddess of anticipation, requires uncertainty to flow. When predictability sets in, she retreats, leaving behind oxytocin and vasopressin, the bureaucrats of attachment. They're efficient, reliable, about as exciting as a tax form. This is why arranged marriages report higher satisfaction over time than love marriages. They never had dopamine's divine madness to lose. I keep a photograph hidden in my desk, not of a lost love, but of myself the first time I fell properly in love. The man in that photo has eyes like a religious convert, wild with the conviction that he's discovered something unprecedented. I study his face sometimes, trying to remember what it felt like to believe someone could remain perpetually undiscovered. Last month, a woman wrote to me, "I've started picking fights just to see him become unfamiliar again." When he's angry, really angry, I can almost see the stranger I fell in love with. Is this madness? No, dear reader. This is the logical response to the alchemy of reverse transformation. Some people have affairs to feel alive again. Others pick fights. The wisest simply accept that all gods eventually become furniture and try to find comfort in worshiping household objects. But here's the beautiful, terrible thing. Are you listening? Lean closer. This is important. The transformation is reversible, not through tricks or games or scheduled date nights. Those are just new scripts for the same performance. The reversal happens in moments of genuine surprise, when they do something that breaks your model of who they are, when they reveal a pocket of mystery you hadn't discovered. When you realize, with a shock that feels like falling, that you don't actually know them at all. These moments are rare, precious. Most relationships get maybe 3 or 4 before the weight of familiarity crushes all possibility of surprise. But when they happen, for just an instant, the furniture breathes, the ordinary becomes strange, and you remember what it felt like to be in the presence of a god. The question that should haunt you, and I mean truly haunt you, follow you into your dreams, is this. What mysteries did you stop looking for in the person beside you? What questions did you stop asking when you thought you had all the answers? Or have you already completed the alchemy? Transformed them so thoroughly into furniture that even if they revealed wings tomorrow, you'd only notice how much they clash with the decor. Somewhere tonight, someone is meeting a god they'll eventually turn into a coffee table. The cycle continues. Why the abandoned discover what the possessed will never know. Listen, do you hear it? That's the sound of a man realizing he's free. It sounds like breaking glass, like laughter at a funeral, like the first breath after nearly drowning. It sounds like nothing you'd expect freedom to sound like. Because we've been taught that freedom is something you win, not something you discover in the wreckage of what you've lost. I'm going to tell you something now that will either save or damn you. The men who stop chasing what destroys them don't become heroes. They become something far more dangerous. They become themselves. The candle flickers, throwing shadows that look like all the women who promised to save me. There's an old Tibetan story. You won't find it in any Buddhist text because even monks fear its implications. A young man loved a goddess who lived in the mountain. Every day he climbed toward her temple, and every night the mountain grew taller. He climbed until his fingers bled, until his youth became middle age, until his bones creaked like old wood. One morning, exhausted, he simply stopped climbing. He sat on a ledge and laughed. Not the laugh of madness, but of recognition. The goddess, curious about this strange sound, came down to see him. "Why do you laugh?" she asked. "Because," he said, "I've discovered that the mountain only grows for those who climb it." She sat beside him, no longer a goddess, but a woman with dirt under her fingernails and mortality in her eyes. They shared tea. Then she left, and he didn't follow. Some say he's still there, the freest man in Tibet, teaching travelers the art of staying still while the world chases its own tail. Here's what Freud couldn't admit, trapped as he was in his own desperate need to be desired. The male psyche isn't broken by rejection. It's broken by acceptance. Every man who's been chosen, possessed, claimed, carries invisible chains made from someone else's expectations. But the abandoned, the rejected, the ones who've been told they're not enough, they're accidentally given the keys to the kingdom. A moth finally finds its way out my window. I don't warn it about the other flames waiting outside. I see them sometimes, these liberated men. You can recognize them by what's missing. The performance anxiety in their shoulders, the calculated charm in their smile, the desperate hope in their eyes. They move through the world like tourists in their own lives, curious but unattached, present but not performing. A client told me, the day she left, I spent 6 hours staring at the ceiling, not crying, not planning, just existing without an audience for the first time in a decade. It was terrifying. Then it was beautiful. Then it just was. Modern masculinity is a death cult disguised as a self-help seminar. Chase excellence. Pursue success. Win the girl. Achieve your potential. Nobody mentions that the chase itself is the chains, that every pursuit is a confession of insufficiency. Nobody admits that the men who stop running discover they were never behind in the first place. There's a chemical explanation, of course. Always is. When the bonding hormones finally drain from your system, really drain. Not just the temporary dip of a breakup, but the complete exsanguination of hope. Your brain rebounds into a state neuroscientists carefully avoid naming. They call it return to baseline. But baseline, for a man who's never known himself, is revolutionary territory. My whiskey tastes like liquid amber, and bad decisions I no longer need to make. Schopenhauer understood this, writing from his own voluntary solitude. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. And if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free. But here's what even Schopenhauer missed. Solitude isn't the goal. It's the laboratory where you discover that you were always whole, that the desperate chase for completion in another was the only thing making you incomplete. The liberation of the already broken works like this. First comes the shattering. Brutal, total, the kind that leaves you gasping on bathroom floors at 3 a.m. Then comes the silence, vast and terrible, where you expect to die but inexplicably continue breathing. Then comes the realization that the voice in your head, the one listing your failures, your inadequacies, the reasons you weren't enough, isn't actually yours. It's an internalized chorus of every person who ever claimed to love you, while subtly reshaping you into something more convenient. And then comes the laugh. That same laugh the Tibetan sage discovered. The recognition that you've been climbing someone else's mountain, chasing someone else's goddess, bleeding for someone else's salvation. The truly free men, the ones who've passed through abandonment into liberation, develop a peculiar quality. They listen differently, love differently, exist differently. They can sit with a woman's desire without needing to fulfill it, witness beauty without needing to possess it, experience attraction without turning it into another mountain to climb. They've learned the ultimate secret, that every love which demands you become someone else is not love but sophisticated hatred. That every relationship requiring your constant performance is not intimacy, but an employment contract with terrible benefits. That the freedom discovered in abandonment is not consolation for the lost, but revelation of what was always true. You were always enough. The mountain was always an illusion. The goddess was always just someone else afraid of their own solitude. Dawn breaks like a promise I no longer need kept. So here's my challenge to you, delivered not as a whisper, but as a declaration. What would you do tomorrow if you knew, really knew, that no amount of climbing would make you worthy? Because worthiness isn't a summit, but a starting point. What would you create if you weren't trying to impress someone who left long ago? Who would you become if you stopped trying to become someone else? The abandoned know something the possessed never learn. That freedom tastes like your own breath on a cold morning. Sounds like your own thoughts without commentary. Feels like your own skin without anyone else's fingerprints. Welcome to the liberation of the already broken. Welcome home.